All right, so today we're diving into something that's pretty fascinating. I think answer engine optimization, or AEO as they call it. We got a whole bunch of research papers, articles, even some notes on this new AI tool that I've been hearing about. It's called Notebook LM Plus. And yeah, it seems like this AEO is going to really change the way we think about search.
It really is. Just think about it. Instead of getting just a list of links, what if you just asked your device a question and you got a direct answer?
Yeah.
That's the power of these answer engines.
Right.
And I really think it is a game changer.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially with voice search and AI assistants becoming so commonplace. It's not just about keywords anymore, is it?
Not at all. AEO goes way deeper. We're talking about understanding like user intent. Like what are people really looking for when they come to your site, and structuring data in a way that search engines can easily digest it,
Mm.
and even adapting our writing style so it's more natural and conversational. It's a whole new ballgame. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you've got me intrigued, but honestly, sometimes the tech side of things can feel a little overwhelming to me. So, um, how about we unpack this a bit? Where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, let's start with the brains behind these answer engines. Natural language processing, or NLP, and machine learning. And these technologies allow search engines to understand human language. They can process information from tons and tons of data and then deliver these direct answers we're talking about.
So it's like they're learning to think more like humans.
Exactly. They're getting smarter all the time. Take knowledge graphs, for example. These are massive networks of information that connect all these different concepts and entities.
I'm not sure I quite follow. Can you give me a real-world example of that?
Yeah, sure. Let's say you search for best coffee shops in Seattle.
Okay.
A knowledge graph helps Google understand that you might also be interested in things like coffee beans or latte art,
Oh, interesting.
maybe even caffeine effects. It uses this understanding to deliver you more relevant, comprehensive search results.
Ah, that makes a lot more sense. So it's not just about matching keywords. It's about understanding the connections between different ideas and providing answers that are actually helpful to the person searching.
Exactly. And that brings us to another crucial element of AEO: structured data and schema markup. This is where things can get a bit technical, but it's super important for helping search engines really understand the content on your website.
Yeah, to be honest, I've heard those terms before, but I'm still not quite clear on what they mean. Can you maybe break it down for me?
Okay, sure. So think of structured data as a way of organizing the information on your website, so search engines can easily understand it.
Okay.
It's like you're providing them with a clear blueprint
Okay, got it.
of your content.
And then schema markup is part of this blueprint.
Exactly. Schema markup is like a special vocabulary that you can use to add tags to your content,
Oh, okay.
labeling different elements and providing more context to the search engine. So imagine you have an FAQ page on your website.
Yeah.
By using the FAQ page schema, you're clearly labeling those questions and answers.
Oh, okay.
Makes it much easier for Google to pull that information and display it as a featured snippet.
So it's almost like we're speaking the search engine's language.
Yes. And the clearer we are, the better they can understand and present our content to the users. To give you a clearer picture, a snippet of code for a question about best coffee might look something like this.
Okay.
Div item scope item type https.schema.org FAQ page.
Wow.
Div item scope item prop main entity item type https.schema.org question. H3 item prop name what is the best type of coffee. H3 div item scope item prop accepted answer item type https.schema.org and answer. Div item prop text. Div item coffee is subjective and depends on personal preference. Div def div.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely technical, but I see how that could help search engines pinpoint the exact information they need.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technical aspects. The way we write also plays a major role in AEO, especially with the rise of voice search. Natural language and a conversational tone are more important than ever.
That's interesting. So it's not just about sounding robotic and keyword heavy anymore.
No, not at all. Think about it. People don't speak the way they type.
Yeah.
They use longer phrases. They use more conversational language. So instead of targeting a short keyword like coffee, you might focus on a long tail keyword like best independent coffee shops near me with outdoor seating.
Wow, yeah. So it's about anticipating how people actually talk and phrasing our content accordingly.
Exactly. And it's not just about keywords. It's about the overall flow and readability of your content.
Yeah.
Write clearly, concisely, in a way that just feels natural and engaging.
It seems like AEO is kind of pushing us to become better communicators overall.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
I agree. And remember, this applies to different content formats, text, audio, video. Each has its own nuances when it comes to AEO.
Well, that's a great point. Could you give us some examples of how AEO plays out in these different formats? Let's start with text, since blogs and articles are still so prevalent.
Yeah, sure. For text content, think about those coveted featured snippets on Google.
Yeah.
To earn those, you really want to structure your content with clear headings that directly address common questions.
Okay.
So let's say you're writing about coffee shops. Instead of a generic heading like the Seattle coffee scene, use something like, what are the best coffee shops in Seattle?
Got it.
And provide a concise, informative answer beneath it.
So it's about anticipating what people are searching for and making the answer as easy to find as possible.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of bullet points.
Yeah?
They're great for breaking up text and making information more scannable for both users and search engines.
Got it. Clear headings, concise answers, bullet points. It's all about making the information digestible. Now, what about audio content? Podcasts are huge these days. So how does AEO come into play there?
You're right. Podcasts are booming. AEO is just as important for audio content. The key here is creating transcripts for your episodes.
Okay.
This not only makes your content accessible to a wider audience, but it also allows search engines to crawl and index your content, making it discoverable through voice search.
So even though it's audio, the written word is still really crucial.
Absolutely. And don't forget about your show notes and episode descriptions.
Right.
Make sure they include relevant keywords and accurately reflect the content of your episode.
It's interesting how AEO is making us think more holistically about our content regardless of the format. What about voice skills? Those little apps for Alexa and Google Assistant, they seem like a whole different beast.
They are unique, but AEO principles still apply. When you're designing a voice skill, think about the questions that users are most likely to ask, and ensure that your skill can provide clear, concise answers.
It's all about anticipating how people will interact with your skill using natural language.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, last but not least, video content. YouTube is like a search engine in itself these days. How do we approach AEO for video?
Yeah, you're right. YouTube is massive. Just like with podcasts, closed captions and transcripts are crucial, not just for accessibility, but they help YouTube understand your content.
Yeah, okay.
Also, pay close attention to your video descriptions. Front-load the most important information, use relevant keywords. Consider using timestamps to help viewers find specific sections.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. It's amazing to see how many different factors play into AEO. It seems like the key takeaway is to understand the user, their intent, and make information as accessible as possible no matter what the format is.
You got it. Now that we've covered the basics of AEO across different content types, let's get into some practical tips for implementation.
Okay, sounds good to me. Where do we start?
It all begins with keyword research. But in the world of AEO, we need to think beyond just generic terms and get into the minds of our audience.
Yeah.
What are the specific questions that they're asking?
So it's more about understanding the why behind a search.
Exactly. Use keyword research tools to uncover relevant questions and long-tail keywords that people are actually using. For example, instead of just targeting coffee, you might target how to brew the perfect cup of coffee at home.
Yeah, I see how understanding those specific questions can help us tailor our content to provide those direct answers people are searching for. So what comes after keyword research?
Well, once you know what people are looking for, it's time to optimize your existing content for AEO. Revise headings, add more specific information, restructure your content to make it more scannable.
Yeah.
It's all about constant evaluation and improvement.
So it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process.
Exactly. And that brings us to the importance of tools and resources. There are some fantastic tools out there that can really help streamline your AEO efforts.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites?
Well, Google Search Console is a must-have
Yeah.
for understanding how your website is performing in search results. It can help you identify any technical issues that might be hindering your AEO efforts.
That sounds incredibly helpful. Are there any tools that can help with schema markup? That part seems particularly complex.
Yeah, there are some great schema markup generators that can really simplify that process. You simply input your information and they generate the necessary code for you.
That sounds much easier. Are there any other tools that we should have on our radar?
Well, we mentioned Notebook LM Plus earlier. It's an AI tool that's making waves in the AEO world. It can be incredibly powerful for analyzing existing content.
Yeah.
And even generating new AEO-friendly material.
Wow, AI-powered content creation. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, and it's just a glimpse of what's to come. The future of AEO is deeply intertwined with artificial intelligence.
That's a perfect segue into our next part. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on how AI is shaping the evolution of answer engines.
Let's dive into that in part two. We'll explore the potential of AI and what it could mean for the future of search and content creation. We were just talking about some pretty powerful AI tools for content creation and analysis.
Yeah, Notebook LM Plus really blew my mind. It feels like we're on the cusp of some major changes in the way we even create and consume information.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the tools themselves, it's about the underlying AI that's driving all of these advancements. We're talking about large language models, or LLMs. They're capable of generating human quality text and understanding language in a way that was just unimaginable a few years ago.
Yeah, I've heard so much about LLMs, like ChatGPT seems like everyone's talking about it, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how they actually work. Could you give me a quick rundown?
Sure. So think of LLMs as incredibly sophisticated algorithms that have been trained on massive amounts of data. They can process and understand language. They can generate different creative text formats like poems, code, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc. And they can answer your questions in an informative way, even if they are open-ended, challenging, or strange.
So it's like they've absorbed all of this information and can now use it to communicate and create in a way that almost mimics human intelligence.
Exactly. And the implications for AEO are huge. Imagine a world where content is dynamically generated to provide the most relevant and comprehensive answers to any question you might ask.
Wow.
That's the kind of power LLMs bring to the table.
That sounds incredibly efficient, but I have to admit it also makes me a little uneasy. If AI is generating the answers,
Mm.
how can we be sure that that information is accurate and unbiased?
That's a valid concern. As with any AI-generated content, it's crucial to have human oversight and editorial judgment, to ensure accuracy and maintain ethical standards. Think of LLMs as powerful tools that can enhance and augment our abilities, not replace them entirely.
So it's a partnership, not a replacement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
LLMs can help us research, brainstorm, and even draft content more efficiently. But human creativity and critical thinking, those are still essential for crafting truly engaging and insightful content.
I'm starting to see how AI will really shape the future of AEO. It's going to be a fascinating dance between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence.
I agree. And as with any new technology, there will be challenges to navigate. But I believe if we approach AI with awareness and a commitment to ethical considerations, we can really unlock its full potential for good.
That's a great point. It's all about using these advancements responsibly and thoughtfully. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on some of the specific ways AEO might evolve in the coming years. What trends and developments are you most excited about?
One trend that I find particularly interesting is the increasing personalization of search results.
Oh,
As answer engines gather more data about our individual preferences and interests, they'll be able to provide more tailored and relevant answers.
so instead of getting the same generic answer that everyone else sees, I might get results that are specifically curated for my needs and interests.
Exactly. Imagine asking your smart speaker for restaurant recommendations, and it provides a list of places that align perfectly with your dietary restrictions, your budget, and your preferred cuisine.
That would be amazing. It would save so much time and effort compared to scrolling through endless generic reviews and websites. What other exciting developments are on the horizon for AEO?
I believe we'll see a continued blurring of the lines between search and other digital experiences. Answer engines will become more integrated into our everyday lives,
Okay.
seamlessly providing information and assistance across multiple devices and platforms.
So instead of thinking of search as a separate activity, it will become more woven into the fabric of our digital interactions.
Exactly. We might interact with answer engines through our smart home devices, our cars, even our wearable technology. It will become more conversational and intuitive.
So the future of AEO is all about personalization, integration, and a more seamless user experience. It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is, and it raises some interesting questions about how these advancements will shape the way we learn, work, and connect with the world around us.
I think that's a perfect segue into our final part. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into AEO. From the technical aspects of schema markup to the potential of AI, it's been quite a journey.
It has. In the final part, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the bigger picture. What does this all mean for us as content creators, and more importantly, as curious humans navigating a world that's overflowing with information?
So we've explored the nuts and bolts of AEO, talked about AI's growing role, and even glimpsed into the future of search.
It's been quite a journey, but now I'm wondering what this all means for us, as content creators and information consumers.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. We're clearly in the midst of a major shift in how we access and interact with knowledge.
We are, and it goes beyond just optimizing our content for search engines. It's about adapting our own thinking and approaches to knowledge in this rapidly evolving landscape.
I'm curious to hear more about that. What do you mean by adapting our thinking?
Well, think about it this way. With all this information so readily available at our fingertips, it's easy to kind of fall into a passive consumption mode.
Right.
We ask a question, we get an answer, and we move on.
I see what you mean. It's like we're becoming so reliant on these answer engines that we might lose the ability to think critically and independently.
Exactly. That's why it's more important than ever to cultivate those critical thinking skills. Don't just accept the first answer. Dig deeper, question the source, consider different perspectives.
So it's not just about finding the right answer. It's about understanding how that answer was reached and what biases might be at play.
Precisely. And that brings us to another important point. The need for continuous learning AEO is not a static field. It's constantly evolving as technology advances and user behavior changes.
So we can't just learn the basics and call it a day. We need to stay informed about new trends and adapt our strategies accordingly.
Absolutely. And that's where resources like industry blogs, online communities, even this deep dive come in handy. Surround yourself with information and make it a habit to stay curious.
It sounds like AEO is as much about personal growth as it is about technical skills.
I think so. It's forcing us to become better researchers, more discerning consumers of information, and ultimately more engaged learners.
That's a great point. It's not just about, gaming the system to get our content to the top of the search results. It's about using these tools and strategies to create truly valuable content that informs, educates, and empowers our audience.
I couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, it's about fostering a healthy relationship with knowledge, one that's based on curiosity, critical thinking, and a constant desire to learn and grow.
Well said. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've explored everything from the technical aspects of schema markup to the philosophical implications of AI-driven search.
It has, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to navigate this ever-evolving world of AEO and use it to create content that truly makes a difference.
It's been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure, and to our listeners, remember to stay curious, keep learning, and never stop exploring the world of knowledge. That's the true power of AEO and the key to thriving in this information-rich age.